my girlfriend knows this all the time. She says, hey, I'll come to brunch. And then I'll be like, did you say we? Did you say a we? I heard a we in there. I'm like, who is we? Who is we? Oh, me and so-and-so. I'm like, I'm canceling brunch now.
Yeah. Let's see. Red flags. Is this podcast a red flag? Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on Dating Today, a podcast about modern dating issues. Add it up. My name is Brock. I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking about red flags. Today, I'm joined with Maraa, who is a phenomenal friend of mine. She's also one of the admins to our Singles Connect Chattanooga Facebook group. Maraa, go ahead and tell everybody hello.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And right now, we actually have that group watching live. So anybody that wants to tune in to these podcasts live to ask questions at the end, all you have to do is go to Facebook, go to Singles Connect Chattanooga, apply to join. It's like $10 a year, but you get a lot of added benefits. We talk about some really, really good things about dating. We share some experiences. We learn. We have a really good community. We do some outings. We definitely get together about once, twice a month. And yeah, it's a really great place for people to come and just create a really solid community of local singles that are looking to just better themselves. So we are missing Carlos. I just want to tell everybody that he is not here with us today, but we are more than capable of taking this topic.
I think so.
So we're going to be talking about red flags. Now, that's kind of a big thing going on in just like social culture. Everybody's throwing red flags about just some of the most random things, like, oh, if he drives a truck, that's a red flag. It's like, hold up a second. Hold on. Wait just a second. Or, oh, she wears, makeup, so that's a red flag. Like, chill. Hold on just a second. So what we actually want to do in this podcast is talk about some red flags that maybe we're actually overlooking. The real red flags, not the petty ones. We're not talking about those, the minor little deal breakers, the real big ones. And I think we got some really good ones for you today. And then we're going to move on to talking about some things that people say are red flags, but they're really not. And we're going to tell you why we think that's the case. All right. So Maraa, let's talk about one of the big red flags, which is people dating to marry, people dating to have kids, and why this is such a big red flag in my opinion. I'm going to just go ahead and start just by saying I think this is a huge red flag because when somebody is dating to marry, they often overlook actual red flags in somebody else because they're so focused on getting somebody to fulfill that role in their life so that they're able to achieve the things they want in their life. They're not really worried about what they're bringing to the table, just, hey, can they help me achieve my life objectives? And I think that's a very, very fast way of getting your life kind of derailed. You're qualifying people that aren't really qualified to be in your life, and it can just lead to a lot of disasters. Have you had any experience with that?
Me, I'm the experience.
You're the experience? Well, what do you mean?
Well, first of all, I think I'm slightly kidding there, but I think that's a shallow way, or a shallow way of thinking when you're dating in your intent. Mm-hmm. So, like you said, it is a bit of a red flag when you're overlooking, because what you tend to do is take these red flags and you're like, I'll make that a yellow flag. Mm-hmm. You're like, it's a mild, it's a medium. We'll go a little bit slower past it, when you should be like, that's a full stop.
Right.
Like, officer, pull me over.
Right. I love it.
State trooper, where you at?
Right.
And I think that's the thing. And for me, as far as experience goes, I've definitely done that. I've definitely been so hyper focused where I'm so ready for this. Mm-hmm. I don't really care what anyone else wants. This is what I want. Mm-hmm. And over the course of time, I've had to kind of take a step back and be like, hey, it's important what the other person wants.
For sure.
Because what if what the other person wants doesn't align with you? Mm-hmm. What if they want to go to church and you don't want to go to church?
Yep.
What if, they want to go to their mom's every weekend or two or three times a week? Mm-hmm. And you're like, I don't want to see family that much.
Or they plan on moving eventually.
Or what if they want to move across country, or what if they want to pack up your home and live in a tiny home and, travel the world or whatever. And you're like, I just want to stay under my rock,
For sure.
and not do anything. So I think that's super important to take a look at, and to not put your goals on hold. No one's saying doing that. It's how do your goals align, or your life goals, your wants, and how do they align with the person that you're dating?
Right.
But at the same time, like when we're dating, like we shouldn't be dating, like you said, to get married.
Right.
The end goal is to get married. Like that's something you say, like my intent in the long term is that's what I do want. I want us to get to that point.
Sure.
Or at some point, I hope that whoever I align with, that we want to get married, or
For
that
sure.
we want to have kids.
For sure.
So, yeah.
So a way to, I guess, identify that, because I've definitely experienced this when I was dating, somebody would say, or I'd ask them kind of like, hey, well, what do you see like yourself in like 2 or 3 years? Like, do you still see yourself here in the city? And do you want to be married? And they're like, I absolutely will be married. I definitely want to have 3 kids. I'm like, ooh, oh, okay. Like you already got their names picked out. Like, chill. So that's definitely, in my opinion, a red flag. Somebody that's trying to get somebody to help them fulfill their life goals, and it has nothing to do with what the other person's life objectives are. So that's definitely a big red flag. I think you had a pretty good one that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, the one I'd love to touch base on is going to be, being able to talk freely and tell someone, communicate your feelings, and, tell them how you feel, because that's, first of all, communication, reciprocation is huge.
Yes.
And if you don't have that in a relationship, your relationship is going to go nowhere.
For sure.
And so I think the hardest part, and I have experience with that, is in one of my my last 2 relationships, the communication was not being reciprocated. And I felt like every time there was a problem or an issue, I would try to bring that to them. And I kept feeling like I was on eggshells. I was like, how do I kind of creep around?
Right.
And how do I like deliver this issue that I'm having, or like my feelings are hurt, or like how do I just say that to them? And I know a lot of you guys are like, well, just say it. I'm like, well, guys, we are trying to say it to you. There's a way about it, and I think a lot of people go into defense mode
For sure.
when you try to tell them that something that their spouse or that their person they're dating has done to them that hurts their feelings, or that hurts their, whatever has bothered them or has struck a nerve. And I think people take defense over that versus saying, wow, I'm so sorry. Like, to be honest, you could literally not give a shit.
Yeah.
If you just said, I'm so sorry, I had no clue that bothered you.
Right.
And then you could like just listen and like, and listen to give a little bit of feedback, but listen to like hear what the person's saying. Don't listen just to answer and be like, well, this is why I do this, or this is just the way I am. Because I don't want to know. Like, to me, it's a red flag if you're rigid.
Right.
Like, if there's no bend.
Yeah, you gotta have some
anything,
flexibility there
to
for any type of relationship. And you're touching on something that's actually really, really big, and maybe we'll talk about this even later, is communication is deeper than that. It's comprehension. It's when you are trying to give that information, if they can't receive it because maybe they've got past trauma, or let's just say like the person that's giving it to them doesn't know how to deliver information in an elegant way that's soft to be received, because nobody wants to hear like,
you suck.
Like, yeah. So you, as the person who needs to be able to deliver that information, maybe you need to practice. Like,
True.
Like we all have to work on our communication skills and our ability to comprehend everything that our partner is trying to say. So that's actually a fantastic.
Yeah. Actually, in
red
one of my relationships, one that was not, we ended on bad terms, but we're actually friends now, and this is my long time ago. But many times that I didn't comprehend, and again we can go back into this later, but he kept saying to me, every time we fight, you scream, you yell. Every time, we get into an argument, it just is, you're yelling over me, you talk over me. And I thought, I didn't realize I'd do that. And it wasn't until I had time after the breakup to sit on it and be like, I kind of squashed how he was feeling. I wasn't listening. I just was like yelling over him, and I was talking over him and interrupting him. And I was listening for a reaction. I was listening to react.
Right.
I wasn't listening to like answer him in a way that was thoughtful.
Sure.
And now I tell people all the time, if you're gonna, talk to someone, like if they can't deliver information to you or you can't give that to them, that's a big red flag to me.
For sure.
Like, get out while you can.
And sometimes, like what you just said, like how we might yell in an argument, it's because we just don't feel heard, period. And we think like that's our last resort. It's like, you're not comprehending, we're not connecting. this is my last ditch effort. I'm going to yell it into you. So, I mean, that's definitely not how communication is supposed to work. Yeah, we're going to hear you, but we're not really going to listen. Yeah.
So.
Okay. No, that's actually a really, really good unspoken red flag. Is just not feeling like you can really express yourself. That's a certain type of hell. And I'm going to be serious. Like, that's really terrible, being in a relationship that you don't feel you can express yourself honestly. Like, if you're experiencing that, I mean,
it was the worst. I have to like say that and in complete agreement. That was the worst. I felt so alone and I felt so silenced.
Sure.
I felt like there's nothing I could say or even approach without that person shutting down completely, not tuning in. And I felt like I can't ever talk to them now. And so then, I'm like, I go to bed and I'm just lying awake and everything inside just eating at me.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I just want to be able to share how I feel and for you to hear me and receive it and have some emotion. And also just like guys and women too, like if you are not this type of person, literally learn to just say, I'm sorry. Like, just saying, I'm so sorry in the most sincere way. Practice it. Say it in the mirror. Because I guarantee you it'll get you a long way. And I say, like, take this example and put it in perspective like this. If your boss came into you and said, your performance is not doing well, how do you say that to your boss? Do you say, well, okay, I'm just going to tell you everything else and why everyone else is? Are you going to deflect or are you going to say, I'm really sorry, I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to do better? And I really wish in relationships and in dating, people did that. I wish they would say, I'm really sorry. And let me think on that. I'm going to like absorb what you said.
For sure.
I can definitely do better. I'm not asking you to tell me that you can do better, but mentally take it up and be like, I can do better than this.
And be
better.
And not the, I'm sorry you feel that way apology.
That's
not an apology.
No, that's narcissistic.
It is.
It
really is.
Do not tell someone, I'm sorry you feel that way. Because what you're saying is, I'm sorry that you have an issue, but I don't feel that way. And I'm not going to help you fix it. Right? Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not ever going to feel that way. So I'm like, well, if you don't feel that way, then how am I ever going to feel that you comprehended what I said and that you're taking my feelings? And the thing is like, and I say this with women, but men are like this too at times. I think they're a little bit more guarded with how they go into talking about their feelings. I think it takes a very secure man to do that. And I think that there's a lot of trust that has to be built before they do it. But women are a little bit more looser with their feelings, or they're, because we talk about them with our girlfriends. Yeah. So we're able to express them a little bit more with men. But I think with that being said, like being able to just like talk to someone, like talk about your feelings and like not hoard that inside. For sure. Everyone should not be hoarding that inside.
Yeah. But it's not healthy. It's why one of the leading, if not the leading cause of death amongst men in the United States is suicide. We don't feel like we can express ourselves freely without any form of repercussion. So like it's tough. And when you can't share your thoughts and your feelings with your partner, like, it's a
sad relationship. It's just sad. It's quiet. I think I just imagine walking into like a library. It's quiet. Yeah. You might hear a door shut and that's about it.
Right. So being able to communicate freely in a place that you feel that trust has been built, that's a secure spot for you to be able to express yourself, and that your partner is empathetic and willing to try to understand you is crucial. So if you, like you said, if you feel like you are on eggshells around somebody, that's a huge red flag. Please do not ignore that, because it will not go away. And I think that's something that we often try to do is just, maybe it'll get better next time. I mean, how many people have said that? Maybe this is a one-off. Man, maybe we're past that and it won't happen again, and it happens in a week. And we do this over and over. And that's what red flags are, things that we disregard most often that get us into some trouble. So definitely want to be able to communicate with your partner. Don't want to be walking on eggshells at all. For sure. Well, another red flag, and this will probably be the last one that we talk about that's, well, not talked about very often, is, when you're going through the honeymoon phase and you're really about each other, you're trying to spend a lot of time with each other, is watching yourself or your partner stop doing all the things that got you attracted to them, and they try to spend all their time with you, or you two just doing that together. You're not doing the things that made you unique and attractive, and you're just you go to work, and as soon as you're done with work, you're together. You don't really have a social life. You're glued to the hip. You're glued, and nobody feels like they can even approach you if you guys are out. You lose your friend circles and stuff. I mean, you and I are in a very, very amazing friend group, and I am so glad that when we all get into relationships that we don't just like disappear, because that's the worst.
It is the worst.
Have you experienced somebody trying to that you found attractive, that once you were like maybe a month or so in, like they just stopped doing all the things that got you attracted to begin with?
I mean, like, do you mean like they became clingy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to label this, or like stage 5 clinger.
Stage 5.
Yeah. I mean, and I've been that person too. I've been like the clinger, and I think learning the balance of like having a relationship or dating in general and hang out with one person, because generally what it is, you date a couple people, and you're like, oh, out of like 2 or 3, this one stands out, so now I'm giving all of this one my energy. All the eggs are in the basket, ladies. Nice. But I think the thing about that is I'm trying to think how I want to say this, but
just say it.
We don't want clinginess. We want them to have their own life. And a lot of times, including myself, the older I get, the more I find myself being like, actually, don't text me. Don't call me. Don't hang out with me. Actually, don't come over. And
is that because of experience? Because
because of experience
what's
now.
About to happen.
It's because, and I think it's because I now am old enough to enjoy myself in silence, in peace, by myself, and with my friends. And so I think a lot of times we are dating to fill loneliness. And what happens is that person comes into our life, and we're like, loneliness is now no longer here. It's in the closet, tucked away. And we're like, you stay back there. Don't ever come out. And everything we do revolves around them. Oh, your friend calls you. Hey, you want to get dinner Thursday? Oh, I don't know. Let me see what, whatever his name's doing. Okay, cool. She never hears back from you. Or, sorry, girl, we're going to go to dinner. We have plans. Okay, no worries. Well, just hit me up whenever. And, or, stuff like that. And everything, it's like everything you do, you're doing together. And nothing's wrong with that in the beginning to some extent, because there is a period of time, the honeymoon phase or whatever, and sometimes that lasts longer for people and other times it doesn't. And you need that. You need to be able to build that bond. But the thing is, you cannot lose yourself while building your bond. And for a short period of time, your friends are okay to sit on the back burner. They're not gonna, their feelings are not gonna be hurt.
They'll understand to an extent.
But once you guys, let's just say you're dating, it's full on dating, past the honeymoon phase, and everything you do, the girl's like, hey, let's go to brunch, and you're like, yeah, I'm down for brunch, and then you show up with your boyfriend. Well, I will be the first one to tell you and every other girlfriend, do not do that. I hate it. My girlfriend knows this all the time. She says, hey, I'll come to brunch, and then I'll be like, did you say a we? I heard a we in there. I'm like, who is we? Who is we? Oh, me and so-and-so. I'm like, I'm canceling brunch now.
Yeah. This
Because
is supposed to be like girls' time.
this is
or
my
like,
girl time. This
yeah.
is my time to be able to hang out
Yeah.
with you and to be able to
Yep.
like air my laundry to you because I needed that. And maybe I should communicate that more too. But I feel like there's a little line, a little expectation that we know when we go out. This is our time.
For
it's
sure.
not like invite. And I'm always a person that's like, hey, do you mind if so-and-so comes? Always ask permission first. I think that's important because you never know. What if they're going through something they need to vent to you or talk to you and need advice?
Yeah, you can't stop being a friend just because you stop or start dating. Like, if you can't balance the both of those, you're not ready for them. You're not ready for either one. You're not ready to be a good friend. You're not ready to date. You have to be able to balance these things. And again, maintaining your identity. It's so crucial, not just so they stay attracted to you, but just so you don't lose yourself and make them a part of your identity. And I think I mean, I see a lot of people do that. They completely lose who they are and they become just a 2.0 version of their partner, and they just live for them. They do whatever it is that they want and what they're interested in, and they just have nothing really going for them anymore.
And I find those people are very unhappy.
Yes,
and
they are.
I have a few people in my life that are like that, and I love them to death, and that's all great. And sometimes it works for some people, you know. I'm not saying like this is not every single person that you have to follow this. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's like the other partner is just super fun to be around and no one gives a shit. And it's like whatever. But there are times that you find this happening and it's like not only is it annoying, but you start seeing things like bits of jealousy come out and you can't get away from that. They're
She's calling me out.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, but there are, I mean, and I'm a jealous person, so I'll call myself out. But, you know, like, and I think jealousy is fine. I think some jealousy is okay. It's healthy. Because I wouldn't want my person to not want after me or lust after me or be like, who's texting you a little bit. But if they're like, let me see your phone, let me read your emails, let me read your texts, well, we're crossing a line. That's a red flag.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
That's another boundary,
red flag.
a boundary, you know, a huge red flag. And no one's saying like, well, I trust my person, I'll let them read whatever. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Because what if there's a point in your life where you need to have that privacy or that boundary, and now you can't draw that line. And I think everybody needs to respect everyone's privacy
100%.
to whatever degree, and that's trust. That's where it comes in.
For sure.
And
for sure,
I think what I love about even you guys in our friend group, you and Diana, y'all both go out all the time with men and with women of the opposite sex, and or I should say, y'all go out with people of the opposite sex separately. And y'all, like, Diana will go out and have a little dinner date with one of her guy friends. You've been out with the girlfriends at her dinner date, and you know, things like that. And they're very much to stay connected with your friends that are maybe not in your very
100%.
close friend circle, but in a separate friend circle that doesn't match with the one that you're in. You know, we have tons of circles, and we're always kind of juggling those.
And those
around.
Circles are crucial for your personal identity. So you definitely got to just maintain those at all costs. And just like she said with the honeymoon phase, like, yes, you're going to want to spend a lot of time with that new person, and that's completely, you know, expected. But don't lose yourself in the process. So we need to move on to something else. Something kind of what we were talking about in the very beginning, how people are just talking about some crazy red flags, things that, you know, are just kind of petty. We're going to talk about something that people qualify as red flags, but actually aren't. I'm going to start off with single parents. I hear all the time, men and women both saying this. I'm not going to date a single parent. I'm not going to raise somebody else's child. I'm not going to work around somebody else's schedule. I'm not going to do all this and that. And every time I hear that, I always say, hold on just a second. Most of the single parents that I know are some of the most hardworking, selfless, intelligent, grounded people I know of. Now, of course, there's like no person is perfect. Everybody has something kind of going against them at some point or another. But having a past shouldn't be always that thing. Like, having a child is not always that. Again, I know a lot of amazing single moms and single dads that are just extremely high quality people that most people would just be lucky to date.
Yeah.
I really, really do.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Have you dated any single parents?
I have, actually.
Okay.
I'm like, highly recommend.
Nice.
You know what? They've got their crap together for the most part.
For the most part, they do.
You know, and I say that lightly. I think no one really has their crap together, but they're really
Right.
good at, I mean, they're really good at juggling a lot of things. So I'm sure they could juggle you too.
Right.
But first of all, I like kudos to all of you single parents out there doing it and dating.
Yep.
Like, I'm out here single, no kids, dating, and I already like hate it. Like, get me out. And I'm like, add a child to that.
Yep.
And, you know, negotiating with parenting, you know, or maybe you don't have another parent in that life that you're having to, so maybe you don't have an extra set of hands to help you.
Yeah.
You know, that is tough. It's incredibly, I'll never understand, you know, and unless that happens to me as well. And, you know, for whatever reason that these situations are, that doesn't matter, and they should not be judged.
I
you
agree.
know, I think these are some of the most amazing people, and I think, oh my God, what a catch.
Right.
You know, just get to know them. And to me, I'm like, I know, you know, unless you're dead set saying, I don't want kids, if you're like, hey, I want 3 kids, well, what if in your future you're supposed to marry that person and one of those 3 kids is her kid,
Right.
who becomes your kid?
Yep.
And, you know, the other 2 are the 2 you guys made together. Like, I always put that in perspective, especially in my dating.
Sure.
And I've always said, I want 5 kids, you know, I want a lot of kids. I want a football team, like a soccer team, whatever. But, you know, I always say, I don't care how that happens or how that occurs or how I get that, you know, is if that means that one day my values and my life aligns with somebody else who already has children, I already know I'm going to be accepting of that.
Yeah.
And that's just going to add to my number and to the love I can get.
Right.
And I think looking at that in that perspective opens up a variety of people that you could be dating.
Sure.
When you might be like, I'm just in this lane. Well, guess what? When you start adding in single parents and not judging them or not being like, well, they're too much this or they're too much. Well, you might be too much.
Right.
Like, add another lane
Right.
and be like, okay, guess what? There's more fish in the sea. There's
For
tons of fish, and sometimes they got little swimmers with them. You know, like whatever. It's just super fun, and I see so many people that are dating single parents, and I've never personally heard anyone say I hated that.
Yeah. We have several of our friends who are dating or in advanced relationships with a single mom, and they're of the same mindset I am, that like they got their shit together. They are going about life, you know, in a very mature way, and you know, they're ready to date if you're ready to step up. And it takes somebody who's ready to step up.
I think that's important to say too.
It just does, yeah.
And with flexibility, step up with flexibility. You got to understand, like, you know, and with single parents, I think the bigger issue is like, well, I'm going to put my child first. Well, first of all, as you should.
Sure.
I don't think that that's ever going to be a given. And anyone that's like opposed to that, like, get them over, get them out, red flag, get out.
Yep.
But you know, I think like as far as that goes, like, you know, single parents, like, open your lane up, you know, maybe look at other people too, you know, like look at other people who are, if you don't want to have any more kids, maybe look at dating someone else who has kids.
Sure.
Because then maybe you guys can link up and not have any more kids, you know,
the big
and
Brady
you just
bunch going on.
have a Brady bunch, you know, or,
But
you
yeah,
know.
but yeah, dating single parents shouldn't just be an automatic red flag. Definitely give it a shot. See what they're bringing to the table. Obviously, they're going to be bringing a kid to the table, but just see. but each person's different. Give them all an opportunity.
Absolutely.
You had a red flag that's not so much a red flag.
Yeah. So to me, like, having similar interests is not necessarily a red flag.
Okay.
So, or I don't think that's a red flag. You know, maybe it's more of a yellow flag, you know, something a little bit slower. But I think it's, again, we already touched base on keeping your identity or having your own identity. So being able to keep your interests separate, it's okay. Like, if
100%.
he likes Star Wars, baby, that's okay.
Yep.
You don't have to watch it with him. Like, you can find another way to interact.
Yep.
Like, I always think, like, people like, well, he's a nerd or she's a nerdy person. It's like, well, only nerds can date nerds. I'm like,
Right.
well, that's not true. Like, people could
Opposites
have
attract.
exactly. I'm like, someone could have a really, like, interesting, I hate to use the word, but like, fetish with, you know, Marvel or comic books and things like that. And I'm like, what about the girls or the guys that are obsessed with Disney?
Yep.
I'm like, okay, like, whatever. That doesn't have to, you don't have to love it
Right.
to like them.
Yeah.
You know,
Obviously,
like,
you do need to have some similar interest, but the things that aren't similar interest, they're not deal breakers. They're not
deal
red
breakers.
flags. Let them have their identity. It's something
Yeah.
that will stand out about them. You know, when you're in the grocery store, the mall, or whatever, and you see something, you're like, that makes me think of them, because they're so weird about Disney. It's like,
Yes.
oh, that thing just made me think of them, and maybe you get it for them and they love it. It's not something you particularly care about.
yeah. Put it in the basement.
But
Who
they
cares?
do. But they do. So that's super, super important. Yeah, that's actually really good, because I have my own hobbies. I play soccer a lot. Diana does not, and she lets me do my thing. And she is big time into fashion. She loves shopping. She'll send me some posts and things on Instagram. I'm just like, I don't really care. I love you, babe. That would look great on you. Go for it. All that type of stuff.
Ask your friends.
And you got to give each other the room to express yourselves.
Yeah.
You have to do that. So if you're not giving that room, I mean, you're going to really ruin the relationship. You're going to make them feel kind of like almost they're on eggshells again. They can't express themselves.
Right.
That's not fun.
But I also feel like this is a great opportunity for you guys to say, hey, if he wants to go to Comic-Con, let him go to Comic-Con.
Right.
You can go spend the day with your girlfriends. Like, it's a
Hey.
great trade-off to have
Exactly.
that space. Like, he wants to
Exactly.
go gaming with his buddies. He does it once a week or whatever. Like, that's fine. You go hang out with your girlfriends. You go hang out with your mom. You go
Exactly.
take your dog to the park.
Yep.
Like,
It's probably where Diana is right now as we're doing this, is with Cosmo at the park. Exactly. Yeah,
So.
you just got to maintain your interest, and it's okay to have different things.
yes.
So
Some space is good.
yes, some space is good. You don't always have to mesh into everything. And real quick, we'll talk about this very, very last thing, which is arguing. Now, when you first start dating somebody, your first argument can kind of be like an earthquake. Like,
shell
oh,
shock.
crap, maybe this isn't the
Right.
relationship for me. Maybe, because I got
You're
this
not-
idea that the person I'm supposed to be with, we wouldn't have this issue.
You're not who I thought you were.
You're not who I thought you were. You just made me expose a part of me who I'm not very proud of. But like,
Yeah.
you have to crack the egg. That's how it goes. I mean, no relationship is argumentless. It's all about
Yep.
though how you argue.
Arguments
That's-
are healthy. How
they
you
are.
how you argue
Yes.
is the key.
Yes.
Like you said.
And how you make up.
Yeah, how you make up.
How you make up.
But yeah, no, I think like you hit the nail on the head there. Like, arguing is not a red flag. It's not even a yellow flag. If you didn't argue, I'd be like, that's a red flag.
Right.
I'm like, you guys are just so complacent. Like,
Right.
you're fine. It's like, you're like, whatever, want. Like, every time goes on. And it's just like, you guys don't care about like something, or like something doesn't bother.
Oh man, you were about to say
I'm
something. So most of you know that I was married before, and I will never forget when I realized that my marriage was not going in the right direction. It's when we were arguing, and people have heard these words before, is I don't care anymore. And if you get into that point, like, that's the red flag. It's time to throw in the white flag. Like, you're done. But arguing is healthy.
Yeah.
It shows you care. It shows that you're trying, and you can't accomplish anything without a little bit of friction. It just, you're two people with different backgrounds, different ideas.
Let me tell you, when a girl says she doesn't care anymore, because girls be caring, like they be caring too much.
Yeah.
But when she says she doesn't care,
She's done.
let me tell you, that grave, it's been dug, the body is in it, it has been buried over, and there's flowers. She has mourned this relationship.
Yep.
She's ready to move on.
Yeah, when she says she's done, she's been done for a while.
She's
You're
done.
just now hearing about it.
Yeah, you're just now. Yep, she is actually bringing you up to speed.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. Nice. Okay, well, I think we touched on some really good red flags and some non-red flags that people maybe disregard or don't see coming. I feel really good about that.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think we wrapped it up there.
I think so too. So we have the Singles Connect group that are watching live. Maraa and I, we just want to thank you, everybody, for tuning in on this episode of Dating Today, talking about red flags. We'll see you guys next time.
See y'all.
Add it up.